All right, y'all, this is for a very specific response. There's someone on TikTok that's having a lot of problems with their Radeon 9060 XT. They went through the whole DDU process and all of that stuff. And I guess that they had the system built by somebody, like a friend or whatever. And so this may or may not help. It's hard to say. This is something that I've known about for years because I am a system builder, and when they started implementing this little driver pack for AMD, I started using it and I started having less problems between the CPU, the chipset, and anything having to do with AMD integration with your motherboard. So it used for a long time. Now, I've always used the Windows 10 one, and I guess they updated it. So now it has been updated for Windows 11 recently. And when I say recently, I mean this year. They finally got it working with Windows 11, blah, 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 whatever. So one thing that all system builders should do if you're installing an AMD processor on a motherboard is you should come up to this site right here. This is AMD's driver and support site. If you zoom in on the bar, or I guess technically I can, so that you can see this address right here. Let me grab this. Or maybe not. Yeah, whatever. Basically, you want to go up to amd.com/en/support/download/drivers.html. And when you get up here, it has drivers and stuff for the Radeon cards, but what you're specifically coming up here for is the chipset drivers out of this drop-down list. You're going to click on chipsets. If you're on AM4, you'll use AM4. If you're on AM5, you'll use AM5. If you're on either of the Threadrippers, then you'll pick the Threadripper specifically. Now, I'm still on AM4, and I'm on an X570 board. And when you do this and you select it, it will select the drivers that are best for your motherboard, etc. And you'll come over here and you will download your chipset drivers, and then you will download your RAID installer. Even if you don't plan to use RAID, install it anyway, because it gives the motherboard an updated set of instructions specifically for AMD to control SATA NVMEs. And then if you do everything as a RAID, even better for you. And then that's it. So you'll download each, you'll install them. It may or may not tell you to restart your PC. I recommend that you restart your PC anyway. Now, the other thing that you need to do, if you buy a pre-build from a company, they will have already done this, or they will at least have installed the motherboard instructions. Well, unfortunately, I'm having to look at a board that isn't quite my board, but the BIOS and the firmware stuff for this board are the same as my board. But the point of this is that I'm using this as learning. Find out what the brand of your motherboard is if you don't know, and find out what the model number is if you don't know. And pretty much any BIOS scanning tool inside of Windows can tell you this information, like CPU-Z, it can tell you, or Speccy 64-bit, it can tell you, Crystal Disk can tell you some stuff, but I usually use like CPU ID, CPU-Z. That'll tell you the BIOS firmware version, the motherboard, the revision of the current driver set for the motherboard. Like, it'll tell you all this stuff. But chances are, if somebody built a PC for you, or even you built a PC for yourself, you didn't do any of this, because those motherboard companies still send a DVD or a CD-ROM with the motherboards. And what are you going to do with that if you do not have a CD-ROM drive, or at the very least, you don't have a USB external one where you can use the discs, right? Most people go, oh, well, it's on a disc, so it must not be important because my computer doesn't have a disc drive. Still important. Just because it's on a CD-ROM doesn't mean you still don't need it. So you'll find out your brand and model number. You will go up to their website. You will go to their wherever their support is for that motherboard. You will go for that. And then you will see something like this page right here. And this page has your LAN driver, current. Your Wi-Fi driver, current. Chipset driver. Most of the motherboard companies have the AMD chipset driver on the motherboard site. If it does not have this right here, this middle one, chipset for AMD, then go to AMD and get it yourself. Your Realtek driver. This is not the one that comes with Windows. The one that comes with Windows is literally from Windows 98, I shit you not. And if it happens to install that Realtek driver from Windows 98, you will have no problems with your audio for a little while, and then all of a sudden, you're going to start having problems with your audio. You can't explain it. It's going to keep telling you the driver's out of date. You're going to go to Windows Update. Windows Update's telling you nothing's wrong. This is what's wrong. The Realtek audio driver. Now, there's a company called CC Cleaner. I use them. I have used them on and off over the years. I don't really use it for the registry cleaning. I used to back in the day because, you know, Windows 10 when it first came out, Windows 7 when it first came out, you know, the registries were terrible. But I don't mess with any of the registry stuff unless I do it manually, and I do it instruction by instruction so that I know exactly what I'm doing and so I don't fuck something up. Bluetooth driver. If you have, you know, a motherboard with that's got Wi-Fi, you know, with it, you're going to have a Bluetooth driver. You know, utilities, if you want to use the utilities and stuff, and, you know, your SATA drivers, and, you know, I have an Asus board, so I get Armory Crate. The new Armory Crate for Asus works like a fucking charm. I haven't had any problems with it. And people that, you know, like Jay's 2 cents and all them that were bashing Asus, you know, just as little as a few years ago, oh, it's a terrible company. Oh, it's a terrible company. I've used Asus in every single build I've ever done in my life from the time I started building PCs to now. And I've never, not once, had one problem with an Asus board. Ever. So, and their RMA process, when I did used to have to RMA for customers and stuff over a decade ago, their RMA process is just, I mean, you really couldn't ask for better, to be honest. But anyhow, so the two things, BIOS and firmwares, which is just what it's underneath, drivers and tools, and then if you are using an AMD CPU or anything AMD on your chipset, you'll probably want to use the chipset driver, even if you don't have the CPU, because if you have a Radeon board or a Radeon GPU on your motherboard, that's AMD. It might want the AMD chipset driver. It might not. It could change something. It may not. It's really just hard to say. So, peace, guys. I hope it helps. I hope the chick out there that's having the problems with the 9060, I hope that these two things will maybe help, you know, make it make sense. I don't know. This is the problem with PC. Welcome to PC. You might not have a problem for 2 years ever with a Windows PC, and then all of a sudden you just start having problems, and from one day to the next you don't know what the hell's going on. And that's just the way PC is. But when it's working spotlessly and no problems, it's the best experience you're ever going to get for gaming. Anyway, guys, have a good one.